Perkenalkan, nama saya Aye Aung dengan NIM G0025183. Jadi hari ini saya akan membahas tentang anatomi dinding abdomen, GIT superior dan inferior. Oke, kita mulai dengan abdominal wall. So the abdominal wall has several layers and it has two main sections, which is anterolateral then posterior. So the anterolateral abdominal wall has several layers from superficial to deep. First, we have the skin, and under the skin there are two layers of superficial fascia, which is the fatty chamber layer and the membranous scalpel layer. And below this, we find three flat muscles, which are external oblique, internal oblique, and transversus opminis. And under those muscles, we have transversus fascia, transversalis fascia, extraperitonealis, sama parietal peritoneum. Okay. And then we have the posterior abdominal wall. So the posterior abdominal wall is different. So the posterior abdominal wall is formed mainly by large muscles, which is the psoas major, which is this one, the psoas major, iliacus, sama quadratus lumborum. Okay, so the thoracolumbar fascia also provides support, and behind the muscles, the vertebral column forms a strong bony formation. And okay, we will move on to organ intraperitoneal and retroperitoneal. So the intraperitoneal organs are completely covered by visceral peritoneum. They are mobile and usually have mesentery. So the example include the stomach, that is liver, the stomach, liver, and the spleen. Spleen is maybe around here, and then jejunum, ileum, which is the small intestine around here, and then transverse column and sigmoid column, which should be here. Okay, and then the retroperitoneal organs. The retroperitoneal organs lies behind the peritoneum. So they are less mobile and more fixed to the posterior abdominal wall. So the primary retroperitoneal organs include the kidneys, these two here, ureter, and then suprarenal glands and rectum. So the secondary retroperitoneal organs include the duodenum and also the pancreas and the ascending and descending colon. Okay, we will move on to the abdominal muscles. The external oblique, internal oblique, transversus abdominis, and rectus abdominis are the four main anterolateral muscles. And the external and the internal oblique help rotate the trunk, and the transversus abdominis stabilize the abdominal pressure. The rectus, I don't think the muscles are here. The rectus abdominis is the six-pack muscles responsible for trunk flexion, and posteriorly, you can see here, the psoas major and the iliacus help flex the hip, while the quadratus lumborum helps lateral bending. Okay, that is all for the abdominal wall, and we will continue to anatomi gaster beserta sphincter. So these are my notes, so it looks a little bit messy, but we will walk through it. Okay, so this is the position of the stomach. So it's the topography. The stomach is in the epigastrium and the hypochondrium sinister region. We move on to the syntophy. So syntophy is like a position relative to other organs. So in this is the stomach, you see. This is the stomach. In front of the stomach there is in the anterior part of the stomach there is liver, the diaphragm, and also the anterior abdominal wall. At the posterior, we have the left kidney, the spleen, the pancreas, and also transverse colon, which is colon transversum. After that, we can move on to the parts of the stomach. The stomach can be divided into four parts, which is the fundus gastricum, and then pars cardiaca, and then corpus gastricum, which has rugae or plica gastrica inside, and also pars pylorica. The pars pylorica is here, and it has two parts: the antrum pyloricum and canalis pyloricum. And if my drawing isn't clear enough, you can see here. This is the fundus, this is the body, this is the cardia, and then this is the pyloric antrum, and this is the pyloric canal. Okay, now we move on to the openings. We have two openings at the stomach, which is the orificium cardiacum, which is at the level of vertebral thoracis vertebrae number 11, and also orificium pyloricum, which is at the level of lumbar vertebrae 1. Yeah, we can see the pyloric orifice. So this is the English name, and orificium pyloricum is here. So the orificium cardiacum will be here. Okay, and then there are two curvature. There are two curvature at the stomach, which is the curvature gastrica minor and curvature gastrica major. And the stomach also has two incisura, which is here, that is incisura cardialis and incisura incisura angularis, which is around here. And we move on to the muscles. The stomach has four muscle layer. Not muscle layer. The stomach has four layers, which is tunica serosa, from the outside to inside. It has tunica serosa, tunica muscularis, tunica submucosa, and tunica mucosa. So at the tunica muscularis, there are three types of muscles, which is stratum longitudinum, which is this one, and stratum circularum, which is this one, and stratum oblique, which is this one. And the stratum sacularum will later form the musculus sphincter pylori. So by that, we will move on to the two stratum that can be found at the stomach. So this is the first one is the gastroesophageal sphincter, which is at the counterpart of the esophagus and stomach. And also we have musculus sphincter pylori, which is at the counterpart of the stomach and the duodenum. Okay, so we move on to letak-letak appendix. Letak yang paling umum and cara pengukuran appendix. Okay, so the appendix is about 6 to 13 centimeter long, and it has several variations. So which are the retrocecal, which is behind the cecum, okay, and then post ilialis, which is behind the ilium and mesenterium, the ilium and mesenterium, and then we have pre-ilialis, which is in front of the ilium and mesenterium, and we have pelvicum. The pelvicum uh, passes the psoas major, and then subcecalis, which direction is pointed towards the caudal. And then we move on to the cara pengukuran. And oh, I forgot, the letak yang paling umum, the most general structure of the appendix is here. That is retrocecal appendix. Okay, so to estimate the location of the stomach, we need to know two lines, which is the Monroe picture line and Lenz line. So to know the Monroe picture line, we can first find the umbilicus, and then find the cias dextra. Cias dextra is spina iliaca anterior superior. And then at the 1/3 part of the goddess Monroe picture, we will have the tic-tic McBurney, which is McBurney point, and the base of the appendix will be at that point. And if we look from the Lenz line, which is the line between the cias dextra and cias sinistra, at about 1/6 of the lane, we can find the tip. We can find the tip of the appendix, but this is limited in modern medicine because the appendix has variable position, like mentioned here. Okay, so that is all from me. Thank you for watching.